Lauren Hayes had never imagined that a single night at the Ritz-Carlton, New York, would shatter her world the way an earthquake tears open the ground beneath a sleeping town. She arrived quietly, almost unnoticed, stepping out of a black sedan she borrowed from her sister because her own car was still in the shop. She wore a simple navy dress she had altered herself, hoping it would help her blend in among women dressed in couture gowns and diamonds that sparkled like stars over Manhattan. She wasn't here for the luxury, the press, or the champagne tower rising beside the red carpet. She only came because her husband insisted, "Stand by me tonight. It's important for the company image." Those words repeated in her head like a curse. But the moment she approached the entrance, the first tremor hit. A security guard placed a heavy hand on her arm and said, "Ma'am, your name isn't on the guest list." She smiled politely, thinking it had to be a mistake. She was the CEO's wife. She belonged here. But when she tried to step forward, the guard blocked her again, firmer this time. That was when she saw the cameras exploding in flashes, the reporters shouting Damon Kingsley's name, and the crowd reacting with a strange, breathless excitement. Damon stepped out of a sleek Mercedes with a woman clinging to his arm. Lauren froze. Harper Lane, smooth blonde hair, red gown clinging to her like it was painted on, smiling with the confidence of someone who already believed she owned the world. Damon held her waist as if she belonged there, as if Lauren had never existed in the 10 years he spent climbing from a nobody in a garage to the billionaire standing under the Ritz-Carlton lights. Lauren felt something sharp claw up her throat. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't blink. Everything around her blurred, except the sight of her husband lifting Harper's hand to his lips. A reporter shouted, "Damon, is this your new partner?" He didn't deny it. He didn't even hesitate. He smiled. Lauren stepped forward, voice trembling but steady enough for the microphones to catch. "Damon, what are you doing?" He turned, startled, like he was seeing a ghost. "Lauren, not now. You're making a scene." "A scene?" He replaced her publicly, discarded her without warning, and she was the problem? She felt something inside her snap. Years of sacrifice. Years of building his company in that freezing garage. Years of letting him gaslight her into believing her heart condition made her weak. And now this, she walked up to him, ignoring the gasps around her. Her voice was calm, almost heartbreakingly soft. "I hope she was worth it." Those 7 words hit Damon harder than a slap. Cameras froze. The crowd fell silent. Harper stiffened beside him. Lauren turned and walked away before tears could betray her. But behind her, Damon lunged forward, his face draining of color, as if he finally realized the one woman who could destroy him was the same woman he had just humiliated. Because Lauren wasn't just his wife, she was the key he never knew he needed, and the threat he never saw coming. And tonight was only the beginning. Lauren Hayes grew up in a quiet corner of Minnesota, in a beige 2-story house that always smelled like cinnamon and old library books. Her father worked double shifts at a grain mill. Her mother stitched wedding dresses from the living room table. They weren't poor, but money never stretched far enough to feel safe. Still, Lauren grew up believing that kindness could fix most things, and hard work could fix the rest. She was the kind of girl teachers adored, bright, patient, always willing to stay after class to help someone understand an assignment. She planned to become a psychologist one day. She wanted to help people carry the weight they didn't know how to name. But life, as it often does, changed her direction without asking. At 19, sitting beside a vending machine at her community college, she first met Damon Kingsley. He was older, already 25, wearing a wrinkled hoodie and typing furiously on his old MacBook, surrounded by empty energy drink cans. He looked like someone fighting time itself. She asked if he was okay. He barely looked up, muttering something about needing to finish a prototype before sunrise. Something in his voice, a mix of desperation and brilliance, pulled her in. Over the next few weeks, they kept running into each other in the campus library, the cafe, the parking lot. Damon was rough around the edges but full of fire. A man who didn't just want success. He needed it, like his lungs needed air. Lauren admired his hunger. She mistook it for passion. He admired her calmness, mistaking it for dependence. Their lives slowly braided together. It started innocently. She brought him sandwiches when he forgot to eat. She helped organize his notes when his ideas spilled in 100 directions at once. She read his early research papers and explained them in simpler words so he could pitch them to investors. He called her his anchor. At the time, she didn't realize anchors could drown people too. Her health issues began in those years. Lightheadedness, fainting spells, a strange tightness in her chest when stress mounted too high. Doctors called it a mild congenital heart condition, not dangerous if managed, but sensitive to pressure. Damon promised to take care of her. Instead, he used it later to convince her she couldn't survive without him. By 21, she dropped out of college at his urging. They moved to a rented garage in a quiet Minnesota suburb. Winters were brutal. Snow blew through the cracks in the garage door, and Lauren slept in 2 layers of sweatshirts under a thrift store blanket. Damon spent nights coding while she researched companies, drafted pitches, and taught herself the basics of marketing on her old iPhone. She scribbled early diagrams of his AI concept into a small brown notebook, the same notebook she never imagined would one day threaten a billionaire. Those years were raw and unforgiving, but Lauren believed in him, believed in them. She thought the sacrifices were temporary. She thought love was enough. And then one morning, Damon walked in with a grin she had never seen before and announced, "We're moving. I got an investor. This is it, Lauren. We're on our way." She thought "we" meant both of them. She didn't realize that the moment success arrived, "we" would become "me." She didn't know that her biggest mistake wasn't loving Damon. It was trusting him more than she trusted herself. As the garage packed up and their old life disappeared into cardboard boxes, Lauren felt something shift, like the first crack in a frozen lake. She didn't know it yet, but life was about to test her in ways she never could have imagined. And someone from her past was already waking up the storm. When Lauren stepped into the new life Damon promised, she didn't expect it would begin in another garage, this time in the outskirts of Chicago. It was bigger, cleaner, attached to a rental house with peeling paint and a sagging porch roof. But to Damon, it was paradise. "This is where empires are born," he said, spreading his arms like he owned the place. "Jobs had his garage, Bezos had his. Now we have ours." Lauren tried to believe him. Inside, an old wooden workbench became Damon's command center, cluttered with wires, sticky notes, and a glowing MacBook with the fan screaming from exhaustion. A whiteboard leaned crooked against the wall, covered in ideas that made sense only to him. Arrows, formulas, scribbled phrases like predictive mapping and cognitive threading. A single space heater hummed weakly in the corner, struggling against the winter cold leaking through every crack. Their days blended into nights. Damon coded until sunrise. Lauren handled everything else: emails, investor research, pitch decks, expense spreadsheets, and the endless hunt for someone willing to believe in Damon's dream. She worked on her old iPhone and a second-hand laptop that overheated every hour, forcing her to place an ice pack beneath it just to keep it running. She cooked cheap meals too: pasta, canned soup, frozen pizza, stretching every dollar because Damon insisted they put every cent toward the company. He called it dedication. She called it survival. But there were moments that made the exhaustion feel worth it. Nights when they shared cold Starbucks coffee and laughed about how ridiculous their life was. Moments when Damon would grab her hand and say, "We're gonna make it, Lauren. And when we do, I'm giving you everything you ever wanted." She believed him. Back then, he still looked at her like she mattered. But slowly, the cracks began to form. One evening, after a failed pitch meeting, Lauren found Damon gripping the edge of the whiteboard, shoulders shaking. She touched his back gently. "It's okay. We'll find someone else." He snapped. "Do you think this is easy? You don't understand the pressure I'm under." His tone was sharp, impatient, nothing like the man she thought she knew. But before she could respond, he pulled her into his arms, apologizing, whispering that stress was changing him and he needed her now more than ever. Lauren's heart softened. She forgave him. She would forgive him many times after that. And then came the night everything changed. They had just finished drafting a new pitch presentation. Damon paced anxiously, while Lauren sat cross-legged on the cold concrete floor, sketching updates to the AI concept. Her small brown notebook lay open beside her. Pages filled with diagrams and thoughts she never intended to take credit for. She drew because Damon needed visuals, She wrote because he hated writing. She organized because his mind spun too fast. As she sketched a new architecture for the AI model, Damon stopped pacing and stared at her. "You're really good at this," he said quietly. She looked up, surprised. "At what?" "At thinking like a creator." He knelt beside her. "You're not just supporting me anymore, Lauren. You're building this with me." The words warmed her from the inside out. It was the first and last time he acknowledged her as an equal, because 2 days later, an investor finally said yes. A real one. A serious one. A man with deep pockets and a luxurious office overlooking Lake Michigan. He offered Damon seed funding and a direct path to Silicon Valley. On one condition: come alone. Investors get nervous when they see relationships mixed with early-stage companies. Lauren remembered Damon's pause, his silence, the way he didn't stand up for her. That night, he told her he'd go ahead first. "Just for a few months," he said. "Let me get things stable. Then I'll bring you in." Lauren kissed him goodbye through tears. She stayed behind to finish packing the garage. But the truth was simple and devastating. Damon never intended to bring her with him, and the empire they built together was already slipping from her hands, piece by piece, lie by lie. Lauren arrived in San Francisco 3 months after Damon moved ahead, expecting to slip into the life they had dreamed of. She imagined the reunion would feel like coming home after a long storm, warm, safe, full of hope. Instead, she stepped into a world that felt colder than the Chicago garage they once froze in together. Damon greeted her at the airport with a brief hug, barely touching her shoulders. There was no spark, no joy, not even relief. His eyes kept darting to his phone, and his footsteps were rushed, as if escorting her was an inconvenience wedged between meetings. He guided her to a sleek black Mercedes that wasn't rented. "One of the investors insisted," he said proudly, tapping the steering wheel. "Optics matter." Optics. A word he never used before money entered his bloodstream. During the drive through the city, Lauren noticed the change first in his tone, then in the way he spoke about himself. "My investors, my team, my company." The hour that once bound them had vanished without ceremony. His new office was inside a tall glass building near Market Street. The lobby was lined with marble floors, suits that walked too fast, and security badges Lauren wasn't allowed to have. Damon breezed through the turnstiles and turned back abruptly when she followed. "Not today," he whispered. "It's too chaotic. Investors don't like distractions." Distractions. The word stung more than she expected. She tried to tell herself he didn't mean it harshly, that he was stressed, overwhelmed. But as she sat alone in a corner Starbucks across the street, clutching a warm cup to steady her trembling hands, she realized he hadn't even asked how her heart had been these past months. That evening, Damon took her to the apartment he now lived in, a glossy penthouse with a view of the Bay Bridge, minimalist furniture, and the faint scent of a woman's perfume that didn't belong to her. At first, Lauren pushed aside the thought. She had no proof. But the more she looked, the more the details stabbed. 2 wine glasses drying by the sink, a silk hair tie on the nightstand, a faint lipstick stain on a coffee mug. When she confronted him gently, Damon's voice was cool and calculated. "Lauren, you're reading too much into things. You always do that when you're stressed." He pressed a hand to her back, guiding her away from the subject, as if she were a child. She recognized the tone. She had heard it before, just before he convinced her to drop out of school. It was the voice of a man reshaping reality for his own comfort. Over the next weeks, the distance grew sharper. Damon worked late, often not coming home until dawn. When Lauren asked if she could help at the company, organizing decks, running operations, anything, he brushed her off with rehearsed excuses. "The environment is too intense. You wouldn't like the pressure. Your heart can't handle stress." Her heart, her weakest point, her softest spot, and now his favorite weapon. One afternoon she decided to surprise him at the office with lunch. She used his name at the lobby desk, but security shook their head. "Your access isn't approved, ma'am." Before she could process the embarrassment, the elevator doors slid open and Damon stepped out with a woman on his right, a tall, striking brunette in a fitted blazer. Their laughter died when they saw Lauren. Damon froze, then slowly approached as if he were approaching a problem, not a person. "This is Harper," he said stiffly. "My communications strategist." Harper smiled politely, but Lauren noticed the smudge of Damon's cologne on her shoulder. That night, Damon scolded her for coming unannounced. "You embarrassed me," he snapped. "You can't just show up, it looks unprofessional." Lauren stared at him, feeling something inside her unravel like a thread pulled too far. The man she loved was disappearing, and the stranger taking his place was someone capable of hurting her far deeper than she ever imagined. Lauren had always lived with the quiet fear of her heart condition, the one medical shadow that had followed her since childhood. It wasn't fatal, doctors said, but stress could trigger fainting spells, chest pressure, disorientation. She learned to manage it with steady routines, sleep, soft breathing exercises, avoiding overwork. She was careful, she listened to her body, she respected her limits. But Damon learned to exploit them. It began subtly. He would interrupt her mid-sentence during a disagreement. "Lauren, don't get worked up. You know what happens when you're stressed." Whenever she questioned his late nights, his private meetings, his distance, he'd whisper, "Hey, breathe. Let's not make your heart act up again." As if her illness wasn't her own, as if he owned it, as if it were proof she was fragile, dependent, unfit to stand beside him in the world he was building. The more powerful he became, the more he used her condition to box her in. One morning, she woke feeling dizzy, nothing unusual for her, just a brief imbalance. But Damon insisted she stay home. "I need you safe," he said, kissing her forehead. "Stress is the enemy." He left her in the apartment all day without a keycard to exit the building. Another time, during a gala planning meeting she asked to join, he laughed softly, placing a hand on her arm. "These events are chaos, Lauren. Too loud, too demanding. Your heart can't handle it. You'll embarrass yourself." Embarrass herself. The phrase struck harder each time. But the worst moment came when she tried to visit a cardiologist on her own. She had been feeling faint spells returning. Small ones, but enough to make her uneasy. She called a specialist downtown and booked a private appointment. When she arrived, the receptionist looked confused. "Oh, we already received a message from your husband. He said you canceled." Lauren's stomach dropped. "I didn't cancel." The nurse double-checked, brows tightening. "It was confirmed by someone listed as your emergency contact. He also sent over medical notes." Medical notes? Lauren's pulse spiked. Inside the exam room, she read them through trembling hands. Patient prone to emotional imbalance, easily overwhelmed, should avoid pressure, high risk if exposed to distressing situations, should be supervised under stress. Supervised? Distressing situations? She felt faint, but not from her condition, from betrayal. Those weren't her symptoms. They weren't even true. They were Damon's words. The doctor looked at her carefully. "Lauren, is everything at home okay?" She didn't know how to answer without breaking. That night, she confronted Damon gently, her voice steady but shaking underneath. "You changed my medical records." He blinked, surprised, not guilty. "I protected you. Someone has to. You're not strong enough to handle the world I'm in." Her knees weakened. "That's not your call." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a cold whisper. "I'm doing what's best for you. Without me, you would fall apart." Something in her chest burned. Not physical, not medical. It was humiliation, realization. The man she trusted had rewritten her identity into something small, helpless, controllable. She stared at him, fighting the dizziness rising like heat behind her eyes. "I'm not weak, Damon." His expression hardened. "You are. And the sooner you accept that, the safer you'll be. Let me lead. Just stop complicating things. Stop complicating." Another brick laid in the cage he was building around her. Later that night, Lauren sat alone on the balcony, gripping the railing to steady her breath. The city lights of San Francisco blurred through her tears. She had once imagined this skyline meant victory, success, partnership. Now it looked like a prison made of glass. For the first time, she wondered if Damon didn't love her anymore. And for the first time, she wondered if he ever truly did. The night it happened was supposed to be simple, quiet, calm, the kind of evening Lauren prayed for after weeks of feeling invisible in Damon's world. She had spent the entire day alone again, wandering through the penthouse like a ghost in her own marriage. Damon texted once. Late meetings. Don't wait up. No explanation. No warmth. No apology. She made herself a bowl of soup, sat on the couch and tried to read, but her eyes kept drifting to the clock. Midnight. Then 1. Then 2 in the morning. Her chest tightened the way it always did when anxiety tangled with exhaustion. She took slow breaths like her doctor once taught her, counting to 4, but it didn't help. At 3 a.m., the elevator dinged. Damon stepped inside, smelling of whiskey, expensive cologne, and something floral that wasn't hers. She didn't need to guess who it belonged to. Harper. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to cry. All she wanted was truth, something real in a marriage drowning in lies. "Where were you?" she asked softly. Damon tossed his keys onto the counter. "Working." It wasn't the word that hit her. It was the practiced tone. Cold, dismissive, detached. "Working with Harper?" she whispered. He froze for half a second, then exhaled sharply, annoyed. "Lauren, don't start. Not tonight." But she couldn't hold it in anymore. "You tell people I'm fragile. You tell doctors I can't handle my own life. You lock me out of meetings. You treat me like I'm an embarrassment." He turned, eyes sharp. "You are an embarrassment when you get emotional like this." Something in her snapped. "I'm emotional because my husband is sleeping with someone else." Silence fell thick, dangerous. Damon stepped toward her, jaw tight. "Lower your voice." "No," she said, surprising herself. For once, she didn't back down. "I'm tired of whispering. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of you making me feel broken." His face twisted into something dark. "You are broken, Lauren. You need me. Without me, you'd fall apart." The room tilted. Her vision swam. Her breath hitched. She stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the kitchen island. "I don't feel right." "Here we go again," he muttered, rolling his eyes. "You always pull this when you're losing." "Losing?" She wasn't arguing to win. She was arguing to survive. "Damon," she gasped, "I can't breathe." He didn't rush to her. He didn't touch her. He didn't even move. He just stared like she was an inconvenience ruining his night. Her knees buckled. The floor rushed up. Then darkness. She didn't know how long she was out. A few seconds? A minute? When she blinked awake, Damon was standing across the room with his phone in hand, not calling an ambulance, not kneeling beside her, but scrolling. "Are you okay now?" he asked flatly. Lauren's heart throbbed painfully, not from the condition, but from the realization that this man would watch her die before he let her embarrass him with weakness. "I fainted," she whispered. "You scared people before," he said, shrugging. "You'll be fine." "People? Who?" She looked at him, shaking. "Were you with Harper tonight?" He didn't answer, but he didn't need to. The lipstick smudge on his collar spoke for him. Something inside her broke cleanly, quietly, like a bone snapping under pressure. Not dramatic, not loud, just final. She pushed herself up slowly, every muscle aching, and Damon didn't offer a hand, not even a glance. Lauren walked to the bedroom, closed the door, and for the first time in years, cried not because she loved him, but because she finally saw he did not love her. And that truth hurt more than any fainting spell. Lauren always believed the truth revealed itself in quiet ways. Small details, misplaced objects, little signs that whispered louder than any confession. And the truth about Damon began to shout the moment she found the Cartier bag. It was a Tuesday morning, cold and gray, the kind of day when even San Francisco felt heavy. Damon had rushed out early, leaving behind a trail of cologne and unfinished coffee. Lauren went to tidy the living room when her foot bumped into something beneath the couch. A glossy white shopping bag, a red jewelry box inside. The gold Cartier logo gleaming like a guilty smile. Her breath caught. Damon hadn't bought her jewelry in years, not since their garage days when he gave her a silver necklace for $20 and promised one day he'd replace it with something real. He never did. Hands trembling, she opened the box. A diamond bracelet. Delicate, stunning, and nothing like the understated pieces Lauren wore. There was a small card inside, "For when you shine beside me." Her stomach twisted. That wasn't his handwriting, and he had never said anything like that to her. The elevator dinged, Damon returning for something he forgot. She panicked, shoved the box back into the bag, and placed it on the table just as he walked in. He didn't notice her pale face. Didn't even look. He just marched toward the kitchen, grabbed a file, and froze when he saw the bag. For a split second, fear flashed in his eyes. Then, control, smooth, practiced. "Oh, that?" He forced a laugh. "It's for a client, one of the board members' wives." Lauren stared at him, unable to speak. He kept talking, voice too light, too fast. "Just a corporate gift, nothing personal." "Then why was it hidden?" "It wasn't hidden," he snapped. You're overthinking again. It's the stress. There it was again. The gaslighting. The same script he used whenever she got too close to the truth. But this time, Lauren didn't let it go. That handwriting isn't yours, she said quietly. Who wrote the card? Damon's jaw tightened. Lauren, stop. I just want honesty. He slammed the file on the counter. Why can't you trust me? Why? Because trust doesn't need hiding places. He stepped closer, hands on his hips, voice low and dangerous. You're acting paranoid. This is what happens when you don't manage your condition. There it was, her illness, used as a weapon again. She swallowed hard. I'm not imagining things. Damon exhaled sharply, as if exhausted by her very existence. I don't have time for this. I'm late. And just like that, he grabbed the Cartier bag and walked out. Lauren sank onto the couch, chest tight, not from her heart condition, but from humiliation. A sickening wave washed over her as she replayed that moment over and over. The panic in his eyes, the lie that came too quickly, the handwriting that wasn't his. She wasn't crazy. That bracelet belonged to someone. But hours later, when Damon returned, she noticed something new. The Cartier bag was gone, replaced by a faint perfume lingering on his jacket. Not hers, not the clean scent of their laundry detergent. Something floral, something bold, something Harper would wear. And when she picked up his jacket, a small receipt fell out of the pocket. Dinner for two, at a rooftop restaurant. On the same night, she fainted alone in their kitchen. Her hands shook. For days, she tried to convince herself there was another explanation, another story, another truth she hadn't seen yet. But deep down, she knew the truth. The bracelet wasn't the betrayal. It was the evidence. And the worst part wasn't that Damon lied. It was how easily he did it. Her heart didn't ache because he cheated. Her heart ached because she finally understood. He had been choosing someone else long before she ever found that Cartier box. And this time, she felt herself cracking in a way no doctor could heal. The penthouse Damon once called their dream home had begun to feel like a museum Lauren wasn't allowed to touch. White marble floors, glass walls overlooking the bay. Designer furniture arranged so precisely that she felt like one misplaced cushion would set off an alarm. The luxury surrounding her no longer felt impressive. It felt cold, sterile, and suffocating. And Damon? He had become the curator of this cold museum. Perfect, controlled, untouchable. The night after the Cartier discovery, Lauren knew she couldn't keep swallowing her fears. The truth was rotting her from the inside. So she waited until Damon returned from work, late, as always. He walked in talking on his phone, laughing in a soft tone he rarely used with her anymore. "Good night, Harper," he said before hanging up. Her heart dropped. He didn't even try to hide it now. "Can we talk?" Lauren asked carefully. Damon set his briefcase down, his smile fading. "If this is about the bracelet again?" "It's not just the bracelet," she whispered. "It's everything." He crossed his arms, a stance she had come to recognize. Defensive, irritated, ready to twist the narrative. "I feel like I'm losing you," she said. "You're gone all the time. You leave me out of everything. You barely look at me. Damon, I'm scared." He sighed dramatically, rubbing his forehead. "Lauren, I can't keep dealing with this." "With what?" she asked, voice cracking. "With your insecurity," he snapped. "Your emotions, your heart problems, your paranoia." Paranoia, the word sliced through her. "I'm not paranoid," she whispered. He lifted his voice now, sharp and rehearsed. "You faint at the smallest things. You cry at everything. You can't handle pressure. I'm carrying the company, the board, the investors, and then I come home and carry you." His words echoed in the cavernous penthouse. She felt herself shrinking. "I'm not something you have to carry," she said softly. But Damon stepped closer, eyes cold. "Yes, Lauren, you are. And that's the problem." He walked past her into the living room, loosening his tie, pacing like she was a burden choking him. "You think I don't want to include you?" he continued. "You think I don't want you at events? At meetings? You faint, you panic, investors notice, it makes me look unstable." "Unstable?" she repeated, barely breathing. "Because I'm sick? Because I have a heart condition?" He pointed at her chest. "Because you're weak." The word detonated inside her. Her whole life, she tried to be gentle, loving, supportive. She worked behind the scenes. She sacrificed. She believed in him when no one else did. And now he looked at her, the woman who once kept his dreams alive, and saw weakness. Lauren's voice trembled. "I'm not weak, Damon. I'm hurting." He He laughed bitterly. Same thing. Her breath stuttered. Pain rose like floodwater. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you pushing me away? If you're seeing Harper— His head snapped toward her, fury igniting. Don't say her name. Why not? She whispered. Because you'll have to tell the truth? He stared her down, nostrils flaring, jaw clenched. For a moment she thought he might finally break. Confess, apologize, anything resembling the man he used to be. But instead, he turned to stone. You're imagining things, he said coldly. Your condition is making you unstable again. You're twisting reality. She felt dizzy, because that's what gaslighting does. It cracks your sense of truth so deeply you begin to doubt your own memories. Then Damon delivered the final blow. You're lucky I put up with this. Anyone else would have left you already. Her knees weakened. You don't mean that. I do, he said calmly. Be grateful I'm still here. Grateful for being ignored, for being lied to, for being betrayed. Lauren looked around the penthouse, the glass walls, the marble floors, the empty luxury, and felt a terrifying clarity wash over her. She wasn't living in a home. She was living in evidence. Evidence of what success had turned Damon into, and the man standing in front of her wasn't her husband. He was her captor. The morning Lauren's world shattered wasn't dramatic. It didn't begin with screaming or storms or doors slamming. It began with silence, a long, heavy silence that followed her everywhere in the penthouse, clinging to her like a cold fog she couldn't escape. Damon had left before sunrise. No note, no message, just the faint scent of cologne and the impression of his absence. Lauren tried to distract herself by going to her cardiology appointment, the one she had rescheduled after Damon accidentally canceled the first one. She took the elevator down, stepped into the chilly air, and walked 3 blocks toward the clinic on 5th Avenue. She told herself it was normal. People went to doctors alone all the time. Her hands shaking? That was normal too, wasn't it? Halfway down the street, she stopped near a bakery window, trying to catch her breath. The dizziness was creeping back. She pressed a hand to her chest, whispering, "Just breathe, you're okay." That's when she saw them, across the street, outside the luxury boutique, laughing. Damon and Harper. He wasn't wearing the stressed-out, exhausted face he gave Lauren. Instead, he wore the version of himself she hadn't seen in years, the charming dreamer, the confident leader, the man who once promised her the world. Harper stood close to him, too close, holding his wrist as she examined a new watch he'd bought, another extravagant gift. Damon leaned toward her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear like it was the most natural gesture in the world. Lauren felt the ground tilt. The cars, the people, the city noise, all blurred. She stepped backward, gripping a light pole to stay upright. A wave of nausea hit her. She wanted to run, scream, cry, but her body froze. Then she saw it. Harper lifted her wrist. A bracelet. A diamond Cartier bracelet. The same one Lauren had found in their penthouse. Her heart didn't just break. It detonated. Harper leaned in and kissed Damon's cheek. He didn't push her away. He didn't hesitate. He didn't look around to see if anyone was watching. Because he didn't care anymore. Lauren staggered, breath sharp and quick. She tried to swallow the panic, but the pressure in her chest tightened, her vision tunneling. She whispered, "Please. Not now, please." But her body ignored her. Her knees buckled. She fell onto the nearest bench, gripping the edge so hard her fingers went numb. Sweat dripped down her neck despite the cold morning air. A passerby asked, "Ma'am, do you need help?" But Lauren shook her head, terrified of drawing attention, terrified Damon would find out and call her dramatic again. Across the street, Damon and Harper disappeared into the boutique, leaving her behind like she was a forgotten chapter of his life. After several minutes, her breathing steadied enough for her to stand. She forced herself to walk into the cardiology clinic, but when the nurse asked, "Any unusual stress lately?" Lauren's throat closed. Stress? Her entire life was stress. During the exam, the doctor frowned at her chart. "Your condition has worsened slightly. Nothing alarming yet, but it's important you avoid emotional strain." Lauren almost laughed. Avoid emotional strain? Her marriage was emotional warfare. When she left the clinic, the sun had risen higher, the city moving as if nothing had happened. But Lauren? She felt hollow, as if a part of her soul had been left on 5th Avenue, watching her husband love another woman openly. She walked back home slowly, every step carrying a truth she could no longer deny. Damon didn't just betray her. He chose someone else. In public. Without shame. And the worst part wasn't that he cheated. It was that he didn't even think she'd be strong enough to notice, or brave enough to walk away. But he was wrong, and soon, very soon, he would learn just how wrong. Lauren didn't remember how she got back to the penthouse that day. Her feet carried her like she was sleepwalking, her mind drifting in and out of shock. The moment she closed the door behind her, the silence hit her like a punch. She collapsed onto the couch, curled into herself, and let the tears fall silently. Deep, shaking sobs she buried in a pillow so no neighbor would hear. Hours later, when her phone buzzed, she almost didn't answer. But when she saw the caller ID Emily, her little sister, the only person left who still felt like home, she swiped immediately. "Lauren?" Emily's voice was soft but urgent. "I felt like something happened. Are you okay?" Hearing concern, real concern, made Lauren break all over again. I saw him. With her." There was a pause, then the unmistakable sound of keys jangling. "I'm coming over." "Emily, you're in Los Angeles. That's 6 hours. I already booked a flight," Emily said firmly. "Stay put. Don't be alone tonight." Lauren cried again, not because she felt weak, but because someone finally wanted to stand beside her. 6 hours later, past midnight, Lauren heard the knock. When she opened the door, Emily didn't speak. She just wrapped her arms around her big sister, holding her like she had been waiting years to do it. Lauren clung to her, burying her face in Emily's shoulder, feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Safety. After a long time they sat on the couch with mugs of warm tea. Lauren could barely hold steady. "Tell me everything," Emily said. Lauren started from the beginning. The bracelet, the lies, the gaslighting, the cancellation of her medical appointment, and finally the sight on Fifth Avenue. Emily listened in complete silence, jaw tightening, fists clenched. Then Emily said something Lauren didn't expect. "I knew it." Lauren blinked. "What?" Emily exhaled shakily. "I didn't want to believe it, but I knew Damon was doing something awful." Lauren felt a sharp twist in her chest. "What are you talking about?" Emily hesitated, then opened her small tote bag. She pulled out a thin folder, medical reports, printouts, and notes, written in her neat handwriting. "I got a call from your old cardiologist 3 months ago," Emily said quietly. "He said Damon contacted him, asking to update your records." Lauren's stomach dropped. "Update how?" Emily opened the folder and handed her a document. Lauren scanned the lines. "Patient shows signs of emotional disturbance. Patient should not be given stressful information. Patient prone to exaggeration during episodes. Patient requires supervision under emotional strain." Lauren's hands shook violently. He wrote this?" Emily nodded. "Damon asked the doctor to sign it. He refused. He said it wasn't ethical. So Damon found another doctor willing to update your files without seeing you." Lauren felt like she was sinking into the couch. "Why would he do that? Why would he want me to look unstable?" Emily met her eyes. Serious, protective, angry. "Because if you ever questioned him, if you ever tried to leave, if you ever found proof of something, no one would believe you." The truth hit harder than any betrayal she'd seen on Fifth Avenue. He wasn't just cheating. He wasn't just lying. He was building a world where she was the crazy one, where he was the victim, where Harper became the perfect new partner standing beside a stable billionaire. Lauren covered her mouth, sobbing into her palms. He planned this for months, maybe longer. Emily moved closer and pulled her into a hug. "He's not just unfaithful, Lauren. He's dangerous. You're not safe with him." Lauren whispered, broken. "What do I do? I have no money, no job. I don't even have my own bank card. He controls everything." Emily tightened her hold. "You have me, and there's someone else who wants to help." Lauren looked up, confused. Emily hesitated. "I didn't want to bring him into this unless you needed it, but someone reached out months ago asking about you. Someone who knows Damon. Someone who knew him before you did." Lauren's heart stalled. "Who?" Emily took a slow breath. "Isaac Mercer." Lauren froze. The name tasted like an old wound, an old dream, an old love she thought she'd buried. And suddenly, this story was no longer just about betrayal. It was about the man who once disappeared, and why he was coming back now. Lauren stared at Emily as if the world had tilted sideways. The name, Isaac Mercer, didn't just bring back memories. It reopened a door she had sealed shut long before Damon ever became a billionaire. Isaac had been the one person in her life who saw her potential before she even learned to recognize it. They met in a psychology class during her first year of college. He was brilliant, funny, unsettlingly observant, the kind of person who could read people without trying. They studied together, talked for hours, became inseparable in every way except the one that mattered most. He left suddenly without explanation a week before finals. And now he wanted to help? Lauren felt a hollow ache pulse in her chest. Why? Why would Isaac reach out after 10 years? Emily hesitated. He said he owed you, and he knew something was off with Damon. Knew? How? Emily reached into her bag again and pulled out a business card. Sleek matte black, embossed with Isaac Mercer. Mercer Strategic Litigation, Manhattan. Lauren blinked. He's a lawyer now? More than that, Emily said. He's one of the top financial litigation attorneys on the East Coast. He works with investors, corporate fraud cases, whistleblowers. He knows Damon's company inside out. A chill crawled up Lauren's spine. Not fear. Recognition. Isaac always studied systems, patterns, people. If he had noticed something about Damon, it had to be real. Emily continued. He told me to call him the moment you needed help. And Lauren, you need help. Lauren swallowed hard. I don't even know what to say to him. You don't have to say anything, Emily replied. He's already here. Lauren's breath caught. Here? In San Francisco? Emily nodded. He flew in this morning. He's staying at the St. Regis. He said he'd wait as long as it took. Lauren pressed a hand to her forehead, overwhelmed. Emily, I can't just show up after 10 years. What if this is a mistake? What if he... A soft knock cut her off. Emily stood, walked to the front door, and opened it. Lauren froze. Isaac Mercer stood in the doorway. Older, broader, sharper, but unmistakably him. Gone was the messy-haired college boy. In his place stood a man in a tailored charcoal suit, a subtle Mont Blanc pen clipped to his jacket, eyes calm but burning with concern the moment they landed on Lauren. Hi, Lauren, he said gently. It's been a long time. Her chest tightened, not from her condition, but from memories she didn't know she still carried. Isaac? Why are you here? He stepped inside slowly, as if afraid to startle her. Because I heard what Damon's been doing, and I'm not letting him destroy you. Tears welled in her eyes faster than she could stop them. You shouldn't be involved in this. He shook his head. I should have been here years ago. The weight of those words nearly broke her. Emily excused herself to another room, giving them space. Isaac sat across from Lauren, his expression heavy with guilt and something else, regret. Emily told me about the medical manipulation, the financial control, the other woman. Lauren, this is more than betrayal. This is abuse. She looked down at her trembling hands. I don't know how to fight him. He controls everything. My accounts, my access, my medical files, even my image. Isaac leaned forward. Not everything. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a familiar object. A small brown notebook. Worn edges, coffee stains, her handwriting all over it. Her breath stopped. How did you get that? You left it behind, Isaac said softly. 10 years ago, I kept it safe because I thought it mattered to you. She opened it, flipping through pages she had forgotten existed. Early sketches of Damon's AI model, diagrams she drew during sleepless nights, notes from those garage years when she believed she and Damon were a team. Isaac watched her carefully. Lauren, this notebook proves you co-developed the core system Damon built his empire on. Her heart pounded. What are you saying? Isaac's voice hardened with purpose. I'm saying you're not powerless. You're not dependent. You're not trapped. He met her eyes with a conviction she hadn't seen in Damon in years. You're the missing founder of Kingsley Labs. Lauren's breath trembled. And we, Isaac said, voice steady, are going to take everything Damon stole from you. Lauren sat across from Isaac at the marble kitchen island, the small brown notebook resting between them like a forgotten relic suddenly charged with power. She touched the worn cover with trembling fingers. It felt unreal, how something she once scribbled in a cold garage could now threaten a multi-billion-dollar empire. Isaac watched her carefully. This notebook doesn't just help you, he said. It protects you. It proves authorship, contribution, and origin. Damon built Kingsley Labs on top of ideas you created. Lauren shook her head slowly. I didn't create it alone. I just helped. No, Isaac interrupted gently but firmly. You co-designed the base model, and these pages show your handwriting, your logic structure. Damon may have refined the tech, but he didn't start it. You did. The room spun slightly. Not from fear, but from the realization that she had never given herself credit for anything. Damon made sure she didn't. Emily re-entered the room carrying her laptop. I pulled every public filing Damon has made in the last 7 years, she said, tapping the screen. He never registered a co-founder, but he mentioned twice that the early ideas came from a friend. Isaac snorted. A friend? How generous. Lauren swallowed. So what do we do? Isaac opened his briefcase, pulling out a stack of forms, folders, and legal drafts. We do this quietly, privately, strategically. If Damon catches wind too early, he'll find a way to spin it. Lauren's breath hitched. Spin it how? Isaac looked her dead in the eye. By painting you as unstable, as someone who imagines things, as someone who can't be trusted with a company of this size. Lauren's stomach twisted. Emily crossed her arms. He already started that narrative. He told her doctors she exaggerates symptoms. Isaac stiffened. Medical gaslighting, that alone is enough to destroy him in court. But we're not going for destruction, not yet. He leaned forward. We're going for precision. Lauren whispered. What does that mean? It means, Isaac said calmly, we gather evidence he can't refute. We document every lie, every manipulated medical note, every financial restriction. Then we file for intellectual property rights and initiate a corporate challenge. Lauren stared at him. A corporate challenge? Against Damon? Yes, Isaac said. And if it goes the way I think it will, he won't just lose you. He'll lose control of Kingsley Labs. Lauren felt a shiver run through her. Not fear, but something colder. Something stronger. But I don't want revenge, she said softly. I just want my life back. Isaac's expression gentled. And you'll get it. But Lauren, getting your life back means taking back what he stole. They began gathering evidence immediately. Emily printed copies of Lauren's medical reports, highlighting the discrepancies Damon had inserted. Isaac photographed each page of the notebook, time-stamping everything for legal documentation. He cross-checked dates, comparing her sketches to Damon's earliest patents. Lauren watched the two of them move with quiet urgency, a rhythm of preparation she never imagined would center around her. Hours passed. Papers scattered across the counter. Isaac's laptop flashed with legal language Lauren couldn't fully understand, but she understood one thing. For the first time, she wasn't fighting alone. As the sun set behind the bay, painting the penthouse in orange and gold, Isaac closed his laptop with a resolute click. Step 1 completed, he said. Lauren looked at him nervously. What's step 2? Step 2, Isaac said, is filing a confidential claim to freeze any future ownership changes at Kingsley Labs. It prevents Damon from moving assets or shares behind your back. Her breath trembled. He'll know something's wrong if his assets freeze. Isaac nodded. Good. Let him panic. A man like Damon makes his worst mistakes under pressure. Emily smiled faintly. He won't see it coming. Lauren exhaled, her pulse steadying. For the first time in years, she felt the smallest spark of control returning to her chest. Isaac, she asked quietly, why are you doing all this for me? He paused, eyes softening in a way that made her heart ache. Because you saved me once, he whispered, and I never got to save you back. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. 3 words. He knows everything. Isaac's face darkened. Lauren, he said quietly, Damon just found out. Lauren felt her pulse spike the moment Isaac whispered, Damon just found out. The air in the penthouse shifted. Tight, electric, dangerous. She wasn't ready. Not for confrontation. Not for Damon's rage. Not for the man who had spent years perfecting the art of manipulation. Isaac stood immediately, jaw tightening as he scanned the room like he expected Damon to burst through the door. Emily grabbed Lauren's trembling hand. How could he know? Lauren whispered. Isaac checked the message again. Someone in his circle must have tipped him off. Damon has people watching everything, legal filings, financial movements, even your medical records. The moment something shifts, he feels it. Lauren swallowed hard. What is he going to do? Isaac met her eyes. He'll do what power-hungry men always do when they're threatened, attack first. The knock came exactly then. 3 sharp, violent bangs. Lauren flinched so hard she nearly fell off the stool. Emily pulled her back. Isaac stepped in front of them, shoulders squared. The door swung open before anyone could react. Damon stormed in, eyes blazing, hair disheveled as if he'd run his hands through it 1,000 times. He wasn't the polished billionaire the world worshipped. He was raw, frantic, unhinged. "Lauren," he growled, "we need to talk, now." Isaac stepped forward. "She doesn't have to talk to you." Damon's head snapped toward him. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who knows exactly what you've done," Isaac said steadily, "and someone who's not afraid of you." Damon scoffed. "Oh, I'm terrified. Another man trying to insert himself into my marriage?" Lauren shook her head. "Damon, stop." "No," he snapped. "You don't tell me to stop. You don't get to manipulate me with lawyers and fake claims. You think you can take my company?" Isaac stepped closer. "It's not just your company." Damon's eyes flickered with rage. "She didn't build anything. She was a helper, a glorified assistant. She cooked, she typed, she fainted. Don't rewrite history to make her look like some genius founder." Lauren felt the words pierce her like knives. Isaac, however, didn't flinch. "Funny, because your patents show identical structures to the ones in her notebook." Damon's nostrils flared. "You stole that?" "No," Lauren finally said, voice trembling but firm. "You left it behind. You forgot it existed." For a moment Damon froze, then he laughed, a hollow, unstable sound. "So that's your plan? You're going to pretend you created my company? You're going to tell the world your little drawings made me a billionaire?" Emily stepped forward. "She doesn't have to pretend. The evidence speaks for itself." Damon glared at her. "Stay out of this." "You made it my problem when you messed with her medical records," Emily shot back. Damon's face tightened, fear flickering beneath the anger. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I do," Emily said. "You forged notes. You lied to doctors. You made her seem unstable so no one would believe her." Damon turned back to Lauren, voice lowering into that familiar, manipulative softness. "Sweetheart, you know your sister exaggerates. You know she hates me. You know—" "Stop," Lauren whispered. "Just stop." His expression darkened. "You're being fed lies." "No, Damon," Lauren said quietly. "I'm finally seeing the truth." He stepped closer, towering over her. "You can't win this. You don't have the strength. You don't have the money. You don't even have your health. Without me, you are." "She has me," Isaac cut in. "And me," Emily added. Damon's eyes flicked between them, panic cracking through his facade. "This isn't over," he snarled. "You're making a mistake, all of you." Then he slammed the door behind him so hard a picture on the wall fell to the floor. Lauren pressed a hand to her chest, breathing in shallow, shaking bursts. Isaac steadied her, guiding her back to the chair. Emily whispered, "Are you okay?" Lauren looked at the door Damon had nearly ripped off its hinges. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of losing him. She was afraid of what he would do next. And deep down, she knew the war had officially begun. Harper Lane had always believed she was special. Damon told her she was. He whispered it into her ear in dim hotel rooms, murmured it against her skin in chauffeured cars, promised it between rooftop cocktails overlooking the bay. He painted Lauren as fragile, unstable, barely holding herself together. Harper drank every word like gospel. But the illusion began to crack the night Damon stormed into her apartment unannounced. She was applying lipstick in the mirror, preparing for a late dinner he had promised. Her place looked like a showroom. White orchids on the marble counter, designer throw pillows, a stack of fashion magazines beside her Dior purse. She was ready to be adored. Instead, he burst through the door like a man running from a burning building. Harper flinched. "Damon? What?" "We have a problem," he snapped, pacing so violently she thought he might shatter the hardwood floor. Harper blinked. "A problem?" He didn't answer. He yanked off his jacket, tossed it onto the couch, and pressed his fingers against his temples like the walls were closing in. "Damon, you're scaring me." She stepped toward him, placing a hand on his arm. He jerked away. "Not now. I don't need your clinginess right now." Clinginess. The word sliced through her. She crossed her arms. "What happened?" he spat. "She's trying to take the company." Harper's jaw dropped. What? But she's sick. She can barely handle a conversation without. "That's what I told people," he shouted. "But apparently she's hired a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Isaac Mercer." Harper stiffened. "Mercer, as in?" "Yes," Damon hissed. "The one who investigates corporate fraud." A chill ran down Harper's spine. She didn't know much about Isaac Mercer, but she knew enough. He was notorious for uncovering hidden crimes, exposing CEOs, dragging men like Damon into the headlines they never wanted. Harper swallowed. Why would she do that? She loves you. No. Damon cut in sharply. She wants to ruin me. And Mercer is helping her. Harper waited for Damon to soften, like he always did with her, but instead he sank onto the couch, hands gripping his hair. She has evidence, he muttered. Real evidence. Evidence of what? Harper whispered. Damon paused, and for the first time since she had met him, Harper saw fear. Of everything. He didn't explain further, and that terrified her more. She sat beside him slowly. Damon, what aren't you telling me? He didn't look at her. Instead, he whispered, I need you to be there for me. You're the only person I can rely on. The words warm, intoxicating. Until he added, and I need you to keep your mouth shut. No mistakes, no drama, no emotional breakdowns. I don't have time to babysit you. Babysit. The second crack. Harper forced a smile. I won't let you down. But inside, something splintered. Hours later, when Damon fell asleep on her couch, Harper tiptoed into the kitchen to get water. His phone buzzed. The name on the screen made her heart jolt. Christina, her best friend. Harper hesitated. Then she swiped the notification. Messages popped up like bullets. Last night was amazing. He told me you were getting too attached. Can't wait to see you again. Harper's heart slammed against her ribs. Her breath hitched, her vision blurred. She scrolled. More messages. More lies. More betrayal. Damon hadn't just cheated on Lauren. He had been cheating on Harper too, with her own friend. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the counter for support. The shock wasn't just emotional, it was devastating, crushing. The kind of truth that rearranged a person's entire identity. In one moment, Harper saw everything clearly. She wasn't the chosen woman, she wasn't the replacement, she wasn't special. She was a placeholder, a prop, an accessory he discarded the second she became inconvenient. Tears streaked down her cheeks, not out of heartbreak, but humiliation. Rage. And in that instant, Harper Lane made a decision. She wasn't going to protect Damon. She was going to burn him. Because Damon Kingsley didn't just betray his wife. He betrayed the wrong woman. And hell hath no fury like someone who finally sees the truth. 3 days after Damon's explosive visit to the penthouse, Lauren woke to the soft glow of dawn spilling across the marble floor. She hadn't slept at all. Neither had Isaac. Papers, legal drafts, and printed emails were scattered across the table, the remnants of a night spent strategizing. Emily brewed coffee quietly, her eyes puffy from crying and caffeine. Lauren rubbed her temples. I feel like he's going to destroy me before I even get the chance to tell the truth. Isaac shook his head firmly. He's spiraling. That only helps us. As if summoned by fate, Isaac's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then stood so abruptly his chair scraped the floor. What happened? Lauren asked. Isaac handed her the phone. A single email from the Kingsley Labs corporate domain. Urgent. Board meeting, mandatory attendance. CEO under review. Lauren's breath caught. Under review? Yes. Isaac exhaled slowly. It means Damon's been making enough noise that the board wants answers. Emily placed a steady hand on Lauren's shoulder. This is good. They're seeing cracks. Isaac nodded. It's better than good. This is our opening. He began packing documents into a leather folder, the one he used for court. We're going to that meeting. Lauren froze. We? What am I supposed to say in a room full of billionaires and executives? Exactly what happened, Isaac replied, and nothing more. But Damon, he'll twist everything. He won't get the chance. Hours later, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the Kingsley Labs headquarters in downtown San Francisco. The building towered above them, glass and steel shimmering in the noon sun. Lauren had been here before, but never as a threat, only as an outsider, a ghost in Damon's empire. Today, she was walking in as the missing founder. Inside the lobby, security guards straightened the moment Isaac flashed his credentials. Emily held Lauren's hand tightly until they reached the elevator. The ride-up was silent except for the soft hum of machinery and Lauren's heartbeat pounding in her ears. When the elevator doors opened, the boardroom was already full. Long glass table, panoramic skyline views, men and women in tailored suits stiffening as Isaac entered with Lauren at his side. Damon sat at the head of the table, red-eyed, jaw clenched. A man cornered. The chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Kingsley, we didn't expect your wife to attend. Isaac corrected him calmly. She's not just his wife. Miss Hayes has material relevance to the agenda. Lauren's pulse skipped as she stepped forward. Damon tensed. She doesn't belong here. A board member, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes, interrupted. Mr. Kingsley, if she's involved in the claims filed this week, she will be heard. Claims. Lauren's chest tightened. Damon must have sensed her fear because he leaned back smugly as though ready to perform. The chairman opened a folder. We have received allegations of financial misconduct, undocumented contributions to intellectual property, and medical manipulation involving Miss Hayes. The room buzzed with shock. Damon shot to his feet. This is insane. She's unstable. Isaac raised a hand. Enough. Every head turned. Isaac pulled out the brown notebook and set it gently on the table, sliding it toward the chairman. These are original sketches of the neural mapping model Kingsley Labs is built on, all authored by Miss Hayes, dated, photographed, and notarized this week. Whispers filled the room, astonished, curious. The chairman lifted the notebook. This looks legitimate. It is, Isaac replied, and it predates Mr. Kingsley's patents. Damon lunged forward, voice cracking. She's lying. She helped take notes, that's all. Isaac clicked a remote, displaying side-by-side scans of Damon's patent filing and Lauren's notebook entries. Identical structures, identical diagrams. The room fell utterly silent. Lauren finally found her voice. Soft, steady, honest. I never wanted to take anything from him. I just wanted the truth to matter. The silver-haired board member leaned forward. Mr. Kingsley, these similarities are undeniable. Damon's face went pale. Furthermore, she continued, we have received reports from a medical professional who claims you attempted to forge your wife's records to portray her as unstable. Gasps erupted. Damon stammered. This is a setup. Isaac's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. No, Damon, this is accountability. Lauren met Damon's eyes for the first time since discovering his betrayal on Fifth Avenue, and for the first time ever, he looked afraid of her. The board meeting ended with a storm of whispers, rapid note-taking, and a dozen executives staring at Lauren like they were seeing her for the very first time. Damon stumbled out of the room, drenched in panic, clutching what little dignity he had left. Isaac gently placed a hand on Lauren's back as they walked toward the elevator, guiding her like a shield against the stairs. In the lobby, as soon as the doors closed behind them, Lauren collapsed onto a bench. Her legs trembled. Her breathing hitched. I didn't think I could say anything in there. Isaac knelt in front of her, his voice steady. You were perfect. Emily sat beside her, rubbing her shoulder. You held your ground better than anyone in that room. Lauren shook her head. Damon looked at me like I betrayed him. Isaac's jaw tightened. That's what abusers do. They take everything from you and call it loyalty. Then when you finally speak up, they act like you broke the promise. A tear slipped down Lauren's cheek. She wiped it quickly, embarrassed. I hate that he still affects me. Isaac's voice softened. That won't last forever. For a moment, the world felt still, safe, until Isaac stood too slowly. He gripped the edge of the bench, his face went pale, his breath hitched like he'd been stabbed by an invisible blade. Lauren shot up. Isaac? What's wrong? He shook his head, attempting a strained smile. Nothing, just exhaustion. But his hand moved instinctively to his ribcage. Emily's eyes widened. She recognized that movement instantly. Isaac, her tone shifted to medical, firm. Sit down. Now. He resisted. I'm fine. Sit, she repeated. He obeyed. Lauren's heart began to pound, not from illness this time, but fear. Isaac, talk to me. He stared at the floor for several seconds before finally speaking. I didn't disappear from your life because I stopped caring, he whispered. I disappeared because I was sick. Lauren froze. Sick? What do you mean? He exhaled shakily. I was diagnosed with lymphoma our second year of college, stage 2. The treatment was aggressive. My hair started falling out. I couldn't concentrate. Some days I couldn't even stand. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were already dealing with so much, Isaac said, voice cracking for the first time. Your father had just lost his job. You were working 3 part-time shifts. You fainted twice that semester. I didn't want to add my burden to your world. Emily's face softened. Isaac, you idiot. He managed a weak laugh. I know. Lauren shook her head in disbelief. You left without a word. I thought I meant nothing. You meant everything, he whispered. That's why I left. You would have put your life on pause for me, and I couldn't let you do that. Lauren's knees nearly buckled. She sat beside him, gripping his hand. You should have given me the choice. He finally met her eyes. I know, I regret it every day. Emily cleared her throat gently. Are you okay now? Isaac nodded. In remission. 5 years. But some days the pain comes back, especially when I'm stressed. Lauren's breath wavered. You came all the way across the country for me, even though stress could hurt you? He offered a small, tired smile. You were worth the risk. Those words hit her like a warm wave, painful, comforting, overwhelming. Isaac continued quietly. When Emily told me Damon was isolating you, controlling you, I couldn't stay away this time. I won't lose you twice. Lauren's tears fell freely now. She had spent years with a man who used her illness to control her, and now she sat beside a man who hid his illness to protect her. The contrast cut straight through her heart. Emily stood, giving them space. I'll wait outside. When she walked away, Isaac took Lauren's trembling hands. What Damon did to you is unforgivable, he said softly. But what you do next, that's your freedom. Lauren closed her eyes, breath unsteady. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of collapsing. She was afraid of falling for a man who had already broken her heart once, and was willing to risk everything to save it this time. The next 48 hours moved like a storm Lauren couldn't outrun. News of the board's emergency session leaked through the company halls, drifting into industry channels like smoke before a wildfire. Damon was unraveling. Lauren felt it in every vibration of her phone, every tense email Isaac received, every whispered conversation in the Kingsley Labs lobby when people thought she wasn't listening. But the true danger wasn't Damon's fear. It was his desperation. And desperate men destroy everything in their path. On the third night, while Lauren, Isaac, and Emily reviewed documents in the penthouse kitchen, Isaac's laptop blared an alarm. Sharp, sudden, urgent. Unauthorized system activity detected. The screen flashed. Lauren's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Isaac lunged forward, typing rapidly. Emily leaned over his shoulder, her face draining of color as the lines of code scrolled across the screen. It's Damon, Isaac muttered. He's accessing the internal servers from an unregistered location. Lauren's pulse hammered. Why would he? To delete evidence, Isaac said. He's trying to wipe the digital blueprint of the AI model. If he gets rid of everything that ties back to your notebook, he'll claim the entire system as his. Emily gasped. But the board meeting, he knows he's losing, Isaac cut in. So he's doing what cornered men do, cheating. Lauren pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. Can he really erase everything? Isaac's fingers flew across the keys. Not if I get there first. Lauren watched the reflection of the screen glow against Isaac's face. Lines of data, timestamps, code being rewritten in real time. Damon wasn't deleting files manually. He had launched a full system override, attacking the servers with a purge script designed to leave nothing behind. He planned this, Isaac whispered. He planned a kill switch for his own company. Lauren felt her knees weaken. Isaac, if he succeeds, I lose everything. No, Isaac said through clenched teeth. If he succeeds, the truth loses. The room felt smaller, tighter. Damon's digital sabotage was no longer theoretical. It was an active threat, one she could feel closing in like icy fingers around her throat. Suddenly the screen flashed again. Warning. Administrative override engaged uplink confirmed. Source, CEO Security Terminal. Emily's eyes widened. That's Damon's private office, the one only he can access. Isaac swore under his breath. He's moving fast. He wants to nuke everything before the next board vote. Lauren backed up, gripping the counter. He's going to bury me? He's going to pretend none of it ever existed. No, Isaac said, because your AI did something he didn't plan for. He turned the laptop toward her. The system had triggered a backup archive the moment Damon initiated the purge. A blinking notification appeared. Automatic failsafe activated. Protected by original creator override. Lauren blinked. Original? Creator? Isaac smiled faintly. Your handwriting inspired a security feature, one Damon never understood. Your original logic tree included a failsafe, something he never removed because he didn't know what it was, and now it's saving everything. Lauren covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. I didn't even know. You built something he couldn't break, Isaac said softly. He stole your work but not your mind. But the victory was short-lived. Another alert popped onto the screen. CEO access terminated. Retaliatory action initiated. Then a second message, security breach, physical location compromised. Emily stiffened. Someone's coming up. Isaac stood immediately. It's Damon. He's coming here. Lauren's breath hitched. Why? What does he want now? Isaac's expression darkened. Control, intimidation. He'll want to scare you into withdrawing your claim. He'll say anything, promise anything, threaten everything. A loud clang echoed in the hallway outside the penthouse. Emily grabbed her phone. Security isn't responding. Isaac stepped between Lauren and the door. Stay behind me. Whatever he says, you don't talk to him alone. Lauren felt her entire body shaking. Not from fear of Damon, but from the terrifying realization that he was truly capable of anything. Another bang. The doorknob rattled. A familiar voice roared from the other side. Lauren, open this door. Now. Her heart didn't fail her this time. It hardened, because she finally understood. Damon wasn't fighting for his company. He was fighting for control of the one person he never thought would rise against him. And she was done being afraid. The morning of the gala arrived like the calm before a tornado. Eerily quiet, deceptively peaceful, thick with a pressure Lauren could feel deep in her bones. The entire technology world was buzzing about Kingsley Labs' annual Innovation Gala at the Ritz-Carlton. It was supposed to be Damon's night. Cameras flashing, investors praising him, reporters celebrating his visionary leadership. But instead, it would be the night the world finally saw who he really was. Lauren stood in front of the mirror in Emily's hotel suite, hands shaking as she fastened the simple silver bracelet she'd worn since college. Not Cartier, not diamonds, something real, something hers. She stared at her reflection, unsure if the woman looking back was strong enough for what was coming. Emily placed both hands on her shoulders. You're ready. Lauren exhaled. I'm terrified. That's how you know you're doing something brave. Then another voice joined them. Steady, calm, grounding. You won't face him alone. Isaac stepped into view, wearing a black suit that made him look like a man carved out of resolve. His presence steadied her heartbeat instantly, a reminder that she wasn't stepping into the fire by herself. He held out his hand. Let's finish this. The three of them left the hotel together. By the time their car reached the Ritz-Carlton, the street was swarming with journalists. Spotlights cut through the evening air. Luxury cars lined up along the entrance, spilling out executives, celebrities, influencers, all buzzing with anticipation. Damon's empire had always thrived on spectacle. Tonight, spectacle would destroy him. Lauren stepped out first. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras swung toward her instantly. Lauren Hayes? Where has she been? Is that Isaac Mercer with her? Why is she here without Damon? Whispers sharpened into a storm. Lauren lifted her chin, every step up the red carpet a battle against the tremor in her legs. The ballroom glowed with golden chandeliers and crystal centerpieces. Violinists played as servers carried trays of champagne past New York's most powerful. But at the center of it all, Damon stood on stage, the spotlight bathing him in a manufactured halo. He smiled, but when he saw her across the room, the smile didn't just falter, it collapsed. His face drained of color. She kept walking. The board members took their seats. Investors hushed, reporters sensed tension, cameras clicking faster. Damon cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Isaac stepped forward, voice ringing across the ballroom. Before this presentation begins, Kingsley Labs must address a matter of corporate integrity. The room erupted with gasps. Damon froze, gripping the podium. Lauren's heart pounded so loudly, it drowned out the violinists. Isaac projected the first image onto the massive LED screen behind the stage. Lauren's notebook pages, scanned and time-stamped. Then the next slide. Damon's patent filings, identical diagrams, identical structures. Whispers turned into outrage. A board member rose. Mr. Kingsley, we demand an explanation. Damon's voice cracked. This is taken out of context. Another slide. Lauren's forged medical notes. Then, the system logs showing Damon's attempt to purge the AI servers. The crowd gasped so loudly it seemed to shake the walls. A reporter shouted, "Did you falsify your wife's medical records?" Another yelled, "Did you steal her intellectual property?" A third, "Did you sabotage your company's servers to destroy evidence?" Damon lost control. "She's unstable," he screamed. "She's sick. This is her delusion." Lauren stepped forward, microphone trembling in her hand. "I believe that too," she said softly, "until I realized the only person rewriting the truth was him." Silence spread like wildfire across the gala. Her voice steadied. I'm not weak. I'm not unstable. I'm not confused. I'm the woman who built the foundation of this company and the woman you tried to erase. Then she said the sentence that sealed his fate. And I refuse to disappear. Camera flashes blinded Damon as security approached the stage. Investors began shouting. Board members held an emergency vote right there on the ballroom floor. The decision was unanimous. Damon Kingsley was officially removed as CEO of Kingsley Labs. The public didn't just witness a fall. They witnessed an unmasking. And Lauren, standing tall in the glow of the chandeliers, felt something she hadn't felt in years. Freedom. The ballroom felt different after Damon was dragged off the stage. The chandeliers still sparkled. The violins still played, but the energy had shifted. Charged, electric, buzzing with the aftermath of a downfall no one had expected to witness in real time. Lauren stood at the center of it all. Breath unsteady. Fingers trembling around the microphone she finally lowered. Reporters surged forward, but Isaac stepped in front of her, shielding her with a quiet authority that made the crowd pause. Emily rushed to her side, gripping her arm. You okay? She whispered. Lauren nodded, though her legs felt like water. I think so. But the night wasn't over. Not even close. The chairman of the board tapped his gavel against a champagne flute, silencing the room. We will now conduct an immediate vote regarding the future leadership of Kingsley Labs. Damon, still struggling against security, shouted from the back of the room. You can't do this. This is my company. I built this. A board member, stern and unmoved, responded. We've seen the evidence. The company needs stability. Not a man who destroys his own servers and fabricates his wife's medical history. The crowd murmured in agreement. The chairman gestured toward Lauren. Miss Hayes, you may sit in on the vote. Your presence is relevant and overdue. Lauren walked to the side seating area, each step surreal. For years, she wasn't allowed through the lobby. Now she was being escorted to the front row of a vote that would determine the fate of a billion-dollar empire. Isaac sat beside her, posture steady, expression unreadable. But his hand briefly brushed hers, a silent promise. You're not alone. The board members formed a semicircle. Papers shuffled. Tension crackled. Vote on the removal of Damon Kingsley as CEO, the chairman announced. All in favor? Hands rose. 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, 13. Lauren held her breath as the final board member, an older man who had always supported Damon, slowly lifted his hand. Unanimous, the chairman declared. Effective immediately, Damon Kingsley is removed from all leadership roles at Kingsley Labs. A collective exhale swept through the room. Damon froze where he stood, the blood draining from his face. No, you can't. Lauren, please. Tell them. Tell them I'm not. He reached toward her, desperate, wild-eyed. Lauren didn't move. For the first time, Damon Kingsley faced the truth. She owed him nothing. Security escorted him out while cameras flashed like lightning. Harper appeared near the back of the gala, arms crossed, watching with a cold, satisfied smile. Their eyes met for a brief second, not in solidarity, but in mutual realization. They had both been fooled. They had both been used, and they were both done with him. Once Damon was gone, the chairman turned back to the board. Next, we must determine interim leadership. Kingsley Labs cannot operate without a figurehead. We nominate Isaac Mercer, someone said. Isaac's eyes widened. I'm here as counsel, not management. We're aware, another board member replied. But the public trusts you. Investors trust you. And frankly, Miss Spot Hayes trusts you. Lauren's eyes widened. Isaac, you don't have to. He shook his head. The company needs stability, someone ethical, but not me. There's someone better. Isaac stood and addressed the board. I nominate Lauren Hayes. The entire room erupted into shocked whispers. Lauren nearly stood in protest. Me? No, I'm not. This isn't. Isaac faced her, voice low and firm. You built the foundation, you understand the tech, you understand the mission, and you deserve the chance Damon stole from you. A board member asked gently, Miss Hayes, will you accept the nomination? Lauren looked around the room, the same executives who had once overlooked her, the same people who now recognized her as the rightful creator. She inhaled deeply. I'll accept, she said quietly, but only if it helps rebuild what Damon broke. The vote was quick. Hands lifted, one after another, until every single one was raised. The chairman smiled. Congratulations, Miss Hayes. Effective immediately, you are the new majority shareholder and interim leader of Kingsley Labs. Lauren's breath caught. Emily covered her mouth. Isaac's eyes softened with pride. She did it. She wasn't the weak one. She wasn't the fragile one. She wasn't the forgotten one. She was the woman Damon underestimated, and the woman who now held the empire he thought he controlled. The weeks following the gala felt nothing like revenge. They felt like release, like the slow, steady exhale after holding your breath for years. Damon's face splashed across every business headline, every tech gossip page, every late-night news segment. Disgraced CEO, medical manipulator, intellectual property thief. The world finally called him what Lauren had always been too gentle to say. Kingsley Labs stabilized under the board's guidance. Lauren didn't crave power, but she embraced responsibility. She attended every meeting, read every report, learned every part of the machine she once quietly fueled from the shadows. For the first time, the company treated her not as Damon's fragile wife, but as the visionary who helped build its bones. But the most profound change happened far from the boardroom. Lauren moved to California, not for the tech scene, not for the status, for herself. She rented a small beachside apartment in Santa Monica, warm, sun-drenched, alive with people walking dogs and drinking iced lattes. Nothing like the cold penthouse in San Francisco. She furnished it with soft blankets, candles, warm lights, everything that made her feel grounded. For the first time in forever, she slept without fear of footsteps, slammed doors, or whispered accusations. Emily visited often. They laughed again, cooked again, lived again. But Isaac was different. He flew between New York and California weekly for work, yet somehow always made time to stop by her apartment. Sometimes they sat on the balcony drinking tea. Sometimes they walked along the beach, the Pacific breeze tangling through Lauren's hair. Sometimes they said nothing at all, comfortable in the kind of silence she never had with Damon. Still, Lauren kept her heart guarded. Pain had taught her caution. Healing had taught her patience. One evening, just as the sun dipped low over the ocean, Isaac knocked on her door. He held no briefcase, no folder, no agenda, just a soft, almost nervous smile. "Want to walk?" he asked. She nodded. They strolled along the shoreline as the sky glowed orange and rose. Waves brushed their feet cool and steady. For a while, they talked about safe things, music, books, her work at Kingsley Labs. But Lauren sensed something heavier beneath Isaac's calm exterior. Finally, he stopped, hands slipping into his pockets. "Lauren, can I tell you something I should have said a long time ago?" She turned to him, heart thudding. "Of course." He took a breath. "When I left college, I didn't just leave because I was sick. I left because I cared about you too much. I was terrified you'd waste your life taking care of me instead of chasing your future." Lauren blinked, tears stinging. "You didn't give me the chance to choose." "I know," he whispered, "and I regret that every day. But when I saw what Damon did to you, when I saw you fading into the background of your own life, I promised myself I wouldn't lose you again. Not to illness, not to him, not to fear." Her breath trembled. "Isaac," he stepped closer, "I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm not asking you to rush into anything. I'm asking, if your heart is ready, to let me be part of your future." Then he reached into his pocket. Not a diamond ring, not a grand symbol, a simple silver band, elegant, meaningful, familiar. "It's not flashy," he said softly. "It's not expensive, but it's honest. And I promise I will be too." Her tears finally spilled. "Isaac, after everything, what if I break again?" He gently cupped her face. "Then I'll hold the pieces. Because you've spent your whole life holding everyone else's." Lauren closed her eyes, feeling the wind, the warmth, the truth. She wasn't choosing a savior. She wasn't choosing a replacement. She was choosing a partner, someone who'd fight beside her, not against her. She nodded, voice barely a whisper. "Yes." Isaac slipped the ring onto her trembling hand as the sun sank behind them, painting the sky gold. And somewhere miles away, the world continued spinning. But for Lauren Hayes, it finally spun the right way. So that's how the story ends, my dear friends. And if you're still here with me right now, it means something in this journey touched your heart in a way only real stories can. Maybe you saw a reflection of your own strength. Maybe you remembered a moment when you deserved better but didn't know it yet. Lauren's path teaches us one simple truth the Stoics always repeated. You have power over your mind, not outside events. We don't choose betrayal, but we choose who we become after it. Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. Every obstacle can shape us into someone stronger, clearer, and more loving toward ourselves. Life will test you. People will disappoint you. But healing begins the moment you say, I deserve more than this pain. And just like Lauren, you can rise, not because someone saves you, but because you finally see your own worth. If this story touched you, even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it tonight, and subscribe so we can keep walking through these powerful stories together. Remember, you are stronger than you think.